Hi guys, it's Nick from That Superhero Thing podcast. Just wanted to put a quick message at the start of this week's episode. Unfortunately, we've had some technical difficulties this week, which means that the audio quality isn't to our usual standard. If you still want to listen to our recap of Avengers and Thor: The Dark World, then the episode's coming up now. If not, feel free to check out one of our previous episodes instead. To make up for it, we'll be releasing a bonus episode this week where we're going to be reviewing Zack Snyder's Army of the Dead for you. Look out for the release date on Twitter and on our Facebook page as well. Thanks for listening, and we hope you enjoy the episode.
That Superhero Thing with Ant and Nick.
Welcome to That Superhero Thing podcast, where we discuss the latest superhero and comic book movies and TV shows. I'm your host, Nick, and joining me, as always, is my co-host, Anthony.
Hello.
This is weird, isn't it? Why is it weird, Anthony?
Because we're actually in the same room.
We're in the same room. That's so weird. I don't like it. No offense, but I don't.
We're literally both like looking down at the table, just making sure we don't hit eye contact.
I can't remember the last time I've actually made eye contact with anybody, other than my family. It's weird. So we've got quite a bit to talk about this week because we've got two films to go through rather than just the one because Disney ballsed up.
Yeah.
Ballsed up the
And
plan.
we've never heard from them since.
I know, yeah, they've not marketed their countdown at all since, but we're going to stick to it because we're not quitters, are we, aren't we?
No.
We just crack on. So we have got news to go through first. So we've got Shang-Chi, Justice League. I can't believe we've still got Justice League news. Have you seen it?
No.
We've got Justice League news this week.
Jesus.
We've got What If news. We've got a new trailer for Snake Eyes, which Anthony's probably not seen.
What is it?
Anthony hasn't seen. And then we've got some new clips and trailers for Loki and the Black Widow, which hopefully Anthony has seen. We're then going to carry on the Loki countdown with, as we said, with Avengers and Thor: The Dark World. Anthony can see how much I'm moving my hand. No, this is so weird. Right, anyway, we'll put timestamps in the description so you can skip past the news and get straight to the breakdowns if you want to. We'll put one for Avengers and one for Thor: The Dark World. Yeah, in case for some reason you want to skip straight to Thor 2, which is weird. But each to their own, I suppose. There will be spoilers all the way through. There will be potential spoilers with speculation when we go through the news and theories, even though we never get it right. Next week we'll be doing Thor Ragnarok, which I am excited about.
I'm excited for that one.
Because it's my favourite. It's my favourite Thor film as well. It's probably one of my favourite.
I'd say it's probably in my top 5.
Considering now having watched the previous two Thor films, it makes it even better. So I am really looking forward to that. As we always say, if you enjoy the show, thank you for listening, and please do leave us a review on Apple Podcast or wherever you listen to podcasts. Really, 5 stars, please. Don't give us any bad ones because it'll make us upset.
Because we will find you.
We will find you. It helps us get noticed massively. It helps more people find the podcast, so that would be great. One more thing before we start the news, though. It's Anthony's birthday on Sunday. How old are you going to be, Anthony? 21?
Nah, at 10.
10. Yeah, that's unfortunate. I've got to play this because it's your birthday. Anthony didn't know I was going to do that.
No.
He was going all red. You can't see. I can see because we can see her face to face now. I can see. Right, we're going to start with Marvel news this week. We never start with Marvel news. We always start with DC. But spoilers, it's Justice League again. So the first bit of Marvel news we've got, there's been some Shang-Chi news. On a Disney earnings call last week, it's been confirmed that Shang-Chi won't be having a simultaneous release on Disney Plus and at the cinema at the same time like Black Widow is. But it's still going to have a shortened theatrical release.
It's
so
like they're doing like a 45-day thing, aren't
45 days instead of 90, yeah.
But I think that's from what things that have been coming out in general. I've noticed that seems to be a trend. So I think that's going to be the new way of doing it.
Yeah.
So
definitely until like COVID's completely gone. Because I think some people still don't want to go. Still a little bit uneasy about going to the cinema.
I'm excited to go to the cinema and not have somebody sat right behind me chewing on popcorn. Like, that's going to change my life.
I know, yeah.
I went to Wonder Woman, didn't I? 1984.
Yeah.
And the gaps between everybody, I was spread out. I was having the time.
Because that was like in COVID, wasn't it?
Yeah. So there was probably about 16 other people in the room with me when I watched it. So there was no ridiculous talking. There was no
kick in the back of your chair.
Yeah, I just got to enjoy the film. So
That's good.
I'm actually okay with that. And if they want to just start making smaller cinemas where you're going to be allowed 20 to 25 people in, I'll be good with that.
I think cinemas. We're digressing straight away, like because we're looking at each other and we're just getting into a conversation. I think they seem to be getting that way anyway, though, because it's like if you look, certainly in the UK, if you look at like View Cinemas or the Odeon Cinemas, they've got rid of like all the single seats and they're all like big sofa
but then when
recliners.
the introduction of the light, for example, by us as well, the light cinema.
Yeah.
They just went in and built it, and it's a much smaller scale than most others.
Yeah, it is,
as well. So
the new normal.
A bit more intimate.
Okay.
Not intimate like. I just mean like intimate.
Intimate. If you say so, Anthony.
Not as crowded.
Not as crowded. That's it. You could have just said not as crowded. Anyway, what? This is going to be a train wreck this week. We're going to do it. We're going to do it over the phone again next week, listeners. We've got what if news. So we already knew it was coming this summer, but now Entertainment Weekly is reporting that it's going to be out in August. I think people were speculating it might be July because Loki finishes. What if?
Oh.
You know what I'm talking about, don't you?
Yeah.
You haven't seen it, it's alright, it's not right. You don't have to have seen this one. The Loki finale is going to be the 14th of July, so it means we're going to have to wait at least 2 weeks until what if. But that's alright. They need to have a bit of a gap. It'll give them a bit of time to release those Marvel Legends things. Yeah. I think there's a Marvel Legends Loki coming out the week before as well, which is just going to be it's just going to be basically a recap of Loki's story. But you don't need to watch that because you can just listen to the podcast instead. Cause that's exactly what we're doing. There's been a rumour about a Midnight Suns movie from that hashtag show. Now, I've not personally heard of Midnight Suns, but what it is it's like the Defenders and Avengers. It's like a different team. So this one is going to have who's in it? I've got it written down. There we go. Doctor Strange, Moon Knight, Blade, Scarlet Witch, Hannibal King, which is who Ryan Reynolds played in Blade Trinity.
Oh, okay.
And then Damon Hellstrom, who I don't know a massive amount about, but I think there is a Hellstrom show on or coming. Don't know. I'm sure it's on like Hulu or something like that. They reported last week that hashtag show that Ghost Rider was going to be making his debut in Doctor Strange 2. So apparently that's leading onto that. What are you laughing at, Anthony?
I don't want it to be Nicolas Cage.
I want it to be Nicolas Cage. I want Nicolas Cage back, and I want Ryan Reynolds back as Hannibal King as well. And then still Ryan Reynolds as Deadpool, just to make it confusing. They can be in like a weird reality. We had some clips from Black Widow and Loki. I think they got announced at the MTV. I think they got released. At the MTV Movie Awards. I think that's when they got. Have you seen them? No. So anyway, shocking.
No, I think no.
You've seen these ones.
So is it the scene with Owen Wilson in the Loki one?
Yes.
Yes. So I've seen that one.
Have you seen the Black Widow one?
I feel like I've seen half the movie now.
It's good though. The Black Widow one.
I
was a bit like that going in. Yeah. So the Loki one is just a bit of a conversation, is it, with Owen Wilson and Loki? And I did quite like it though because it's like Loki he's a god at the end of the day, isn't it? He's not. He's a guardian, but he considers himself to be a god. And Mobius, Owen Wilson's character, he's just not having any of it. He's just like not impressed whatsoever.
I'm just sad that I didn't hear him go, wow.
Wow, he will. He's got to have a wow.
He's got to say wow.
He's got to have a wow in there somewhere. And then the Black Widow one was good. It's a car chase because Marvel love the car chases. But it was good. It's Black Widow, or Natasha's trying to get away, and Yelena's in the car, and she ends up, spoilers, kicking the door off and knocking out whoever's on a bike chasing them. It sounds really, really, it does sound really standard when I say it, but it was good. I enjoyed it. And then I think yesterday or today, I think it got released, but it got leaked yesterday. A Loki TV spot as well, so like a mini trailer. It had a bit of new footage on it, and then we also meet in the trailer the TVA mascot, Miss Minutes. It's like a little cartoon clock. I don't think she's going to be running around. I think she's just like on. I don't think it's going to be that weird. It might be though. I bet there'll be some reality where there's that exactly, yeah, like the countdown clock. No one in the US knows what I'm talking about. No. Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness. You've got news on this, haven't you? That the Illuminati reported this week, I think.
Yes. So, there's now been a rumour that the villain is going to be spoilers.
Spoilers, yeah. That's the villain. The villain is just spoilers. It's just some
comes
geek.
And tells you the end of everything.
It's just some geek who's just there outside the cinema spoiling the films for people.
So it's Shuma Gorath. Have I said that right? Don't know.
No idea. Let's go with it. Shumagarath, that sounds good.
Apparently, it was in the comic books back in 1972.
That's some research there, Anthony.
It's just in the paragraph.
Oh,
It's a screenshot, if I'm totally honest. I'm not gonna lie.
We don't lie here.
So, originally a Doctor Strange villain. It's basically like a gigantic tentacled being, like a huge, terrifying Lovecraftian starfish. To be honest, as soon as I read that, all I could think of was the one from the Suicide Squad advert.
Yeah,
like,
trying to rip each other off.
Yeah.
What does Lovecraftian mean?
So Lovecraft is it's like a
oh,
lore.
good. I was waiting for you not to know what we were talking
No,
about.
I do know because my friend's really interested in it. So
Okay.
he kind of tells me bits and pieces now and again, but it's like a whole lore. Anyway.
Is it? Okay.
Yeah. So apparently it's like damn near invincible, and is the ruler of nearly 100 alternate universes. So obviously fits in well with the idea of the multiverse thing.
Yeah.
The abilities include energy projection, shape-shifting, teleportation, levitation, and altering reality. So it kind of fits in really well with the idea. So
should be good. I think I read as well that because it's been rumored that America Chavez is going to be getting her debut in the film as well, and she's got the ability to jump between realities at will. So that again it ties into the multiverse, and I think he's going to be after her because he wants her power so that he can take over more realities. But then they reckon as well that Wanda's also going to be after her. Maybe not in a bad way, but she'll want to obviously jump into whatever reality the kids
Do you know
are
what
in.
would make me really laugh?
Wow.
Is if you just saw one of the alternate realities and then you just see someone else teleporting and it's Hiro Nakamura and he just goes, "Yes,
that would be amazing. That would be brilliant.
And that's all you see.
That came right out of left field, that one, Anthony.
I know, right?
That was good though. Yeah, just in the background. Just in the background, I'm fine. We also had, which I mentioned before, we had the MTV Movie Awards in the week as well. Marvel just absolutely caned it. They won pretty much everything they were nominated in. Anthony Mackie won Best Hero for being Captain America and Falcon Winter Soldier. Elizabeth Olsen won
Poor Chris.
Best Performance. Yeah, devastated.
He hasn't even done one feature film.
I know, yeah, he's winning already. Elizabeth Olsen won Best Performance in a Show. WandaVision won Best Show. Catherine Hahn won Best Villain, which is
I don't think anyone else was in the running, to be honest.
No chance. Wanda versus Agatha won Best Fight. Anthony Mackie and Sebastian Stan won Best Duo. And then, not a Marvel performance, but Chadwick Boseman also won Best Performance in a Movie posthumously, which is right because he didn't get the Oscar or the BAFTA. I don't think it was the BAFTA either, did he?
I don't think he did.
No. So that was good. That was good that he got recognition. But yeah, Marvel. Most of it is it's all TV, isn't it? None of it's movie because obviously there haven't been any movies out. But yeah, absolutely leathered it, and it just shows. I think we knew Marvel was going to do well because the stuff's really good. I think Loki's going to be great as well. But just shows that people are taking it seriously. It's not just like geeks like us who are listening, who are watching it all. It's like it's mainstream now, isn't it? So it's doing well. Right, so on to non-Marvel related. We've got Space Jam news. I don't know why I'm doing Space Jam news.
I'm obsessed with Space Jam, so I'm okay with it.
There we go. That's why we're doing Space Jam news, because Anthony's obsessed with it. Don Cheadle has done an interview with Yahoo Entertainment, and he's confirmed that Michael Jordan is going to be in the movie.
Sure.
Yeah. But not in the way that you'd expect. That's what he said. I don't know what that means. I'm thinking either he's going to be a cartoon, or he's going to be he'll be like a statue. There'll be a statue wherever Bugs Bunny is now, as it to say, thanks to Michael Jordan.
Maybe.
But that's pretty much it. Snake Eyes, which Anthony hasn't seen. Anthony doesn't even know what it is.
Yeah, I don't know what it is.
So Snake Eyes is a character from G.I. Joe. Did you ever watch those G.I. Joe movies?
With Channing Tatum?
Yeah. He was the ninja. Who you never
saw.
saw.
Say anything stood out to me.
He's like a ninja, and he always wears a mask, and you never see him, and you never hear him talk or anything like that. So this is like his origin story.
Oh, okay.
Henry Golden from Crazy Rich Asians is playing Snake Eyes. There was a poster got released, and then they released a teaser trailer this week. It's just loads of action. It looks like a fun movie, to be fair. It doesn't look like it's going to win an Oscar or anything like that, clearly. I mean, especially if you've seen the first G.I. Joe movies. But it looks fun. It looks like it'll be a bit of a laugh to watch.
Yeah.
DC news. We've got Justice League news. Again, as I said, I think it's been like a week, is it, since we talked about Justice League
I don't
news?
even know.
This isn't like controversial, this one. It kind of is. So, Zack Snyder, it's not really. Zack Snyder was at a screening for Army of the Dead, which is out. I think it's been released in the cinemas already. It's out Saturday, 21st of May. That looks good. Did we talk about that on the podcast? Is it comic book related enough? Zack Snyder, Dave Bautista? Yeah, we can talk about it a little bit. Let us know on Twitter if you want us to talk about it, or if you just want us to completely ignore it, and then we can. He was at a screening of Army of the Dead, and he showed a picture on his phone of Wayne T. Carr fully suited up as Jon Stewart. So actually, like all CG'd up. Have you seen it? But probably not.
No.
It's very blurry. Like this is how. Do you know what? Because I can do it now. I can actually find the picture on my phone now and show it to Anthony, and I'll edit this bit out. Maybe I'll just leave it in. Anthony, sing them a song while we're waiting. While we're waiting for me to find the picture on my phone.
Well, actually, I was going to
talk about something else. That's probably more professional.
So, you know, because obviously watching the Avengers.
Yeah.
You know the music.
The theme.
Yeah, it keeps falling into Lord of the Rings for me. So it goes da 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 da, and I always just I hear Lord of the Rings immediately after Marvel.
Do you?
So there's my little.
I'm leaving this in the podcast, Anthony. Yeah, we'll leave this in the podcast.
Okay.
So that's him. It's very blurry, but to be fair, it looks quite good already, doesn't it? It looks better than. I mean, just that blurry photo looks better than Ryan Reynolds. I know you've not seen the movie, but surely you've seen the pictures.
Yeah, I've seen the pictures.
Yeah, it does look good. But I can only hope that the reason that Warner Brothers didn't put it in is because they've got really, really good plans for it. But we know that's not going to be right.
Yeah.
On to the next bit of DC news, the Batman news. There's been some leaked promo art for the Riddler's mask, which I've just shown Anthony before. if this is where it's going, then I've not really got too much hope for their version of Green Lantern. It's out there. You can obviously, Anthony can see it because he's in person. None of you are here though. We're sat in my dining room recording, so you can't see it. But I don't know what I'm talking about. But yeah, go online, look at it if you want. It looks like a GIMP mask.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a different take, which is fine, but I don't like it.
No.
I know it needs to be. I mean, I didn't expect
it
to have like.
Right. So basically, if you've seen American Horror Story season 1, it looks like the guy that wears the GIMP stuff.
Okay, I haven't seen it, but I assume it.
I assume most listeners have, and it's quite horrendous.
Is it?
Yeah.
I get. Do you know what?
Not horrendous because it worked for American Horror Story. It was a horror story, but. For Batman.
I don't want him to be in like a tight lycra green costume with a purple bowler hat with a big question mark on it. That's not what I'm expecting. But it does look. It looks like he's just got a load of duct tape and wrapped it around his head and left his eyes free. That's what it looks like. I don't like it, but maybe it'll look better.
Cheap BDSM.
Maybe exactly. maybe it will look better on screen. So that's us for news. That felt quick. There's not been that much news this week.
No, there hasn't.
Has there? Lots of speculation out there, but not that much news. But it's fine because we've got 2 movies to talk through now.
Yeah.
So what we will do is we're going to do them in order. We'll do Avengers first, then we'll do Thor: The Dark World. If you really want to stick around for Thor: The Dark World, you can. If you want to go straight to the theories,
we don't blame you.
You can do that as well. That's absolutely fine. Obviously, it's 2 long movies to go through, so we're not going to go into as much detail.
Can I start with a question?
Go ahead.
Because it is the beginning of the film.
Go on. Go for it.
Nick Fury and the Tesseract.
I thought you were going to say Nicolas Cage then, but yeah, Nick Fury and the Tesseract. Yeah.
Right. So now, in hindsight, we've seen the whole in the 90s with Captain Marvel and all of that.
Yeah.
Why? I don't understand how he's got no clue about it. Like, when he goes into the...
About what?
About the Tesseract. Like, the way he's talking about it, it's like he's never seen it before. But we now know that he has. And that knocked me out of the illusion a little bit, I've got to say.
Did it?
Yeah, I'm a bit annoyed. I think it was one of those, they didn't plan ahead kind of thing. But now that I've seen Captain Marvel and seen, like, how intimately...
I assume you need to start using the word because Nick Fury getting into the Tesseract is not in the comic.
No, but I mean, because of the whole Goose storyline, and that's how his eye happened, and Goose
I would imagine
the Tesseract. Like, I was a bit like, oh.
Okay. For a start, we're talking about Nick Fury being intimate with the Tesseract and Goose. So let's get off that quick. But I would imagine that Anthony's gone. I broke Anthony. I would guess that even though he's had it for that long. At the start of Avengers, he said Selvig says like it's starting to misbehave. So I would imagine that they've started looking into it again because it's started doing things that it hasn't been. Maybe it's been like dormant for the whole time that they had it, and now because Thanos has kicked into gear with his plans, that's why it's starting to misbehave. But yeah,
and also the thing that holds it looks like Tony's chest piece as well.
It does.
And that was something.
And he's put his hands on his chest like a little, because I can see it now. And he's put his hands on his chest like a little heart. But it's good. That's fine. Anyway, So let's go. Should we go through? We'll go through the film just generally. We'll go through it quicker, and then we'll just talk about. But obviously, we're going to focus mainly on Loki's story, aren't we?
Yeah.
And then there's loads of things that I want to talk about. Things that were great, things that were not.
Yeah.
Not great on a repeat watch. So we start. I think we don't start with Loki, but the gist is Loki's not dead because Thanos caught him in a baseball glove, like we talked about last week. He meets the other, which Anthony didn't know who we were talking about. The guy who he's talking to with the 6 fingers. Here we go, bit of trivia. We're digressing already. Do you know who plays the other?
No.
Listeners might not know this either. Alexis Denisof, which is Wesley from Buffy.
Oh.
Yeah, Alexis Denisof is the other.
Oh,
so
no.
he's the leader of the Chitauri. And he makes a deal with Loki that if he goes to Earth and steals the Tesseract, which we know is the Space Stone, then he'll give him his army and Loki can take over Earth, basically. And then we properly start with Nick Fury and Maria Hill. They arrive at the S.H.I.E.L.D. facility, which is being evacuated. Selvig's researching the Tesseract, but it's going a bit crazy, and like you said, it's misbehaving, isn't it?
Yeah.
And it pretty much opens a portal. Out comes Loki, looking really, really crazy. And then he takes the Tesseract, uses his scepter, which is the Mind Stone, to control Selvig. And Hawkeye, we won't call him Hawkeye because it doesn't get called Hawkeye until 2 hours into the film. Clint or Barton, we'll call him Clint. So poor Clint gets mind control.
Oh, you poor Clint.
Poor Clint. Poor Clint. So I did things. We're talking about like potential plot holes. Clint, not Hawkeye. Clint says the doors open from both sides, which is sort of how they explain how Loki gets there. But we know that there's not another side to the Space Stone. I think when I watched this when I was going to say when I was a kid, but when I watched this when it first came out, when I was little, I wasn't a kid. When I watched it when it first came out, because I didn't know what like the Space Stone was or anything like that. I didn't know that was it. When he said that, I pictured it that there was another one somewhere else, and that's what Loki used to get there, and it was like a door.
Right, yeah.
How did Loki get there without the Space Stone? Because he didn't have the Space Stone, and the Mind Stone wasn't there. Is it? And then I thought when I was watching it, was it? Did it? You know, we talked last week about how was he in control of Selvig at the end of Thor? Was he controlling Selvig, and he got Eric to bring him?
Yeah, maybe.
But then he still does the thing on his chest to take control of him. So I just don't understand really how Loki got there, to be perfectly honest. But he did look crazy, and I think something else we talked about last week was there was I think I said it was a theory that Loki was maybe being controlled by the Mind Stone, Scepter, by Thanos. Apparently, that is official. If you go onto the Marvel website and you look up Loki's bio on the Marvel website, it says he was being controlled. It got changed well after Avengers.
Yeah.
I think it was probably when they released Thor Ragnarok and he wanted to create a bit more of a hero.
But then it also makes sense with, and I am jumping a little bit, but to when Bruce Banner's having his little rant and then suddenly he's holding on to the scepter.
Yeah, because that's what that was doing at the time. That was definitely doing that, but I don't think people.
But I just mean it's hinting towards the fact that can take control of you.
Yeah, but Loki was nowhere near that scepter at the time. That's what I thought later on. I thought if it was controlling him when he's like miles away from it, the helicarrier, how is it still controlling him? Or is it just, does it need to be like, is it like,
maybe it's like got an actual connection to him?
Yeah, and I suppose when Hawkeye gets taken over, he's not constantly around the
like
scepter, is he?
Thor can get his hammer from wherever he is.
Pulls his hands out like one. No other noises. And you know what I did like as well? At the end of that scene, just before, when Loki's gone away and stuff like that, I think it's the first time we get the Avengers theme music. on the opening title.
Yeah.
Avengers. And I can remember sitting there watching that in the cinema, just thinking, this is just going to be epic.
Amazing.
It's going to be brilliant. So Fury decides that he's going to put this team together. So he sends Nat to go to Calcutta to recruit Banner. I say Eric Banner then, but that's the actor. But he did play Bruce Banner. He sends Nat to Calcutta to get Banner, but not on the basis that he's bringing him in to be the Hulk. It's because he wants him to trace gamma rays.
What's his mind rather than the brawn.
Yeah, and then he brings in he gets Coulson to go and get Tony, and then he goes and gets Steve. I thought when I first watched it, I thought it was really good as well. The whole interrogation scene with Nat, with those dudes in the warehouse, that was brilliant.
When she's like, "I've got them right where
I've got them right." I know.
So
Yeah.
confused.
It was really
and I was
good.
just like, it's just amazing.
She kind of does it again later with Loki, doesn't she? She convinces him that he's in control and she's got complete control of the situation
and it's just
all
like,
the way
thank
through.
you.
Exactly, yeah.
She is fab. That's why I'm so excited for Black Widow, to be fair.
I know, it's just a shame that it's taken so long to get to it. One thing I did notice is when Coulson phones her and says you need to come and help, and she's like, no, I can't, I'm in the middle of something. This idiot's giving me everything.
The thing that sets her off is because he goes, it's Barton.
It is.
And I was like, ooh.
Yeah, but then it refers to, but we kind of knew that because we know they're like best mates. But it cuts to a screen of her and Clint fighting together.
Yeah.
And it's a shot from the last battle in the movie.
Ah.
Yeah, so they've just basically taken like 5 seconds of video from the final battle where they're fighting the Chitauri and then put it on there. Yeah. Oh. Well, it looks like it anyway. Maybe I'm completely wrong, but it looks like it. When something else I thought was as well. When Nick Fury goes to get Steve, how long do you reckon Steve's been out the ice at this point? Because I always thought it was a long time.
I thought it was a long time.
I don't know.
But I feel like it's probably like
days.
I was say like 6 months tops.
Oh no, I don't. I get the impression it's like he's just come out because he's not done anything. He doesn't seem to know what anything is.
No, because I talk about monkeys and it's like, I know that one.
I know. I get that. I understand.
I know that one.
I understand that reference. Yeah, but I always thought it was like, I thought it was like 6 months, but just I don't know, when I was watching it, I just think it must have been like potentially very close. So he's literally come out the ice and it's just like straight back in. When we see Tony, I thought it was quite funny because now seeing him like in Endgame, how hard and much of an effort it was to get that suit on and off. Like he's got this whole like machinery to try and get the suit on and off, which is just like now.
But I love that evolution of it.
Yeah.
Like, because I think about that every time there's a new film, he's got a new way of getting the suits on, and I just thought it was brilliant.
But looking back, it looks really...
in the progress stuff, so like that first time he was getting them to hit, I think it was Liam in like Iron Man 2 or 3, when like he's calling them. And
Mark 42.
Him on his arse and stuff. I just thought it was brilliant because you're seeing the kind of failures as well as like where it takes him and stuff.
It's good. But it just looked like really clunky now going back, even though it's not that old a film. They're going back and seeing how it was done. I also thought it was quite funny, and I want to know what Pepper Potts said to Tony that she'd do, because...
Do you know what? All I could think of in my head was Friends. Is it the thing we always never do, or the things we never ever do?
Shovelly Joe.
It's all I could think when I watched it last night.
I couldn't, but now that's all I'm ever going to watch. Every time I ever watch Avengers now, I'm just going to picture Tony going, is it the thing Shovelly Joe? So I think we get a bit of Loki after that as well, talking to the other because that's his name, and he's basically saying like how he's the rightful king and he's been betrayed.
I was quite happy with this because obviously I hadn't seen this when I wrote the blog thing that I did about Loki. And literally everything that I suggested is what he's then said. Yeah. So like, you know, he's talking about being betrayed because he was rightful to the throne and then fought off it basically by Thor. Yeah. But then that craving that he's got for power. Yeah. And it seems like the gap that we've missed in between is kind of. I think that this is the point that not annoys me, but it kind of frustrates me that I feel like that's a really important part of Loki's story, and it's the only part that's not been explored. Yeah. Because I feel like even at the point when Loki was hanging off the bridge and goes into the abyss and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
He wasn't to the level of evil that he was when he comes into Avengers.
Yeah.
So whatever's gone on with kind of...
But is it because he's being mind controlled? Because that's what I thought out of this. It's like, why does he now think he's the rightful king? And why does he think he's been betrayed? Because he hasn't been. He's done something wrong. And I know, like we said last week, like he's had a shit hand dealt to it. But I don't see. I think the fact that he thinks it.
I think it's fed on what he already feels. It's just
the Mind Stone has made it sound, made it worse.
I think it's just kind of expanded it even more for him.
Yeah.
So because everything that he says is stuff that I already picked up from the first film.
Yeah.
It's just that he seems to feel it like 100 times more than he did.
I wonder whether the other was kind of doing it to him, sort of like that whole conversation was to like wind him up and rile him up.
And I think that's probably what it was.
Yeah.
But I just don't think we've got enough of that. And hopefully maybe that might get explored in Loki a little bit.
Yeah, because we're going back to original. But we're going. Well, he's obviously been controlled by the Mind Stone at this point, but he's not going to have all the time to sort of turn around. He's going straight from that, isn't he?
Yeah.
But yeah, we do see that he's gone completely batshit crazy because he goes like full Bond villain now, doesn't he? He goes to Stuttgart in Germany and he literally rips out some dude's eye, which is just like a complete. I know he tried to kill his brother, but did he? Like we said last week.
Yeah.
But he just goes like full on, doesn't give a shit. But then I wonder whether
it's that whack on the security guard's face.
I know. Yeah, I thought that was quite good.
It's
what with the way he just like swings the thing. You like I know, like a baseball
you just
bat.
Hear it smack him. Oh,
I know. But I wonder. It's because when I watched it, I was like, well, it shows that he's gone like full on evil. But then, and I suppose we'll get to it as we go through, and we'll get to it in Thor: The Dark World. Unfortunately, but is he? I don't think Loki. I know the Mind Stone's making him go evil, but I don't think Loki sees it as being that evil because I don't think he sees humans as being on the same level as him.
No, and I mean they talk about the ant and the boot all the way through it.
Yeah,
and I think he very much sees them as a lesser being.
But that comes from Odin.
I think
because Odin does all the way through Thor: The Dark World.
He sees us like we see cows.
That's exactly what I thought. It's like you wouldn't have a problem. People would. I mean, I would personally, but people wouldn't have a problem about like killing a cow for meat.
Yeah.
And I think he sees. Not that he wants to like, he doesn't eat people or anything like that. Maybe. Maybe it's like
you never know.
You never know.
Realities.
That's just exactly. But I think it's on the same level. He just doesn't see humans as the same level as him. And I think even though it's like pretty rough for us for him to like rip out this dude's eye so the Clint can do the scan scan into the place for the iridium. I just don't think it shows that he's being evil. I think it just shows that he doesn't see it on the same. He doesn't see it as being that bad.
It's just blasé about it.
Exactly, yeah. And then he gets all the people, doesn't he, in the square, and he gets them to kneel, and then that old dude doesn't, and Steve shows up. But Steve can't take him. He seems to like put up a
no, but I
fight.
also think that Loki is shocked by how much he can defend. If that makes sense.
Yeah, rather than being on the fact that Loki can't just take him out too
seconds. Yeah.
But does Loki want to take him out that quick because he wants to get captured, doesn't he? The plan is to get captured.
Yeah.
And then so Tony rolls up, and basically puts Loki on his arse, and he surrenders. But obviously we know it's too easy.
When he rolls in the plane, and then they're like, lightning storm or something. It's like,
I'm not fond of what follows.
Yeah, I was like, yes.
Yeah. But just before we get to that, going back to Cap, because this is the first time we see. Obviously, we've seen Steve, but this is the first time we see Cap. The suit is bad.
The suit was bad.
The suit was awful. Even when I watched it, I think I was like, "Ooh."
It made me think.
What's he doing?
It made me think of like, Eton school, like back in the 50s when we had like the Rounders gear, and it was the old, like almost leathery. It just looked awful, didn't it?
I think it's the fact that it doesn't have a space for his ears. Because all the Cap suits now, he's got his ears like exposed, whereas this one it was like can't hear anything that's going on.
It's so that he can protect himself from the bad language, isn't it?
That must be it. Yeah. That must be it. But the other thing I was thinking as well is, it's like I think he shoots the old fella with his staff, and then Steve just like drops from the sky out of nowhere.
Yeah.
Looks a bit crap, like he's just been dragged down, like we talked about with Ghost Rider. And I just thought, where did he come from?
Where did he go?
Where did Steve? No, but seriously, where did he? How did he just drop out of the sky from nowhere? And I thought maybe he dropped out of the Quinjet, but then surely Loki
he was
would
bright
notice.
blue compared to everyone else.
Surely he'd notice a big jet floating above it. It's like, how did he manage to surprise him, or did he surprise him?
Surprise!
Yes, we got it in. We got to surprise him. But as much as I liked when Tony came in and to the music,
yeah,
I thought the whole scene. I really enjoy the film, but probably an issue I've got with it going all the way through is that scene, the way he looks and the way he acts and the way that he just gets his arse handed to him to a degree by Loki, just makes Steve look shit.
Yeah,
like he can't. He's well out of his league here, and
but
it doesn't really get redeemed.
No, but like Natasha, she turns around to him.
She says to him, "Yeah, they're basically gods.
Yeah, you can't sit this one out, kind of thing."
I know, but it just makes.
But I think that's also the beginnings of him being able to lift the hammer.
Yeah, the fact
because
that he's
it's
still
him saying,
out.
"I don't care how big a bully they are. I don't care what they've got over me. I'm still going to do what's right and fight for what."
But I don't think Joss Whedon had that in mind.
No, I don't think he did. However, it fits well, so
it does. It works. But I do feel like the whole film was a bit of like Iron Man 2.5 rather than an Avengers movie.
It was, but I loved it because of that as well. But the thing is, I always thought
because Iron Man 2 was a bit crap.
No, well,
so it's kind of like redeemed it.
Yeah, no. The thing is, I still remember the first time when they came up to, was it the end of Hulk when he says I'm putting together a team?
Yeah.
Like I remember being like, oh.
Yeah.
Because it was like the first introduction that something bigger was coming.
Yeah.
And
well, no, it was in the end of Iron Man 1, wasn't it? Because Nick Fury rolls up at the end of Iron Man 1 says we want to talk to you about the Avengers Initiative. Remember? Nick Fury at the post-credit scene in Iron Man 1.
I don't even know anymore. I get the post-credit scenes mixed up.
I know,
constantly.
So do I.
I never know which one they were at the end of.
And I get surprised by them still when I'm we're digressing here. I sit there and I watch a Marvel film and I'm like, I have no idea what the post-credit scene is on this at all.
I love this one.
I do. Don't know how you do it.
Yeah. But, no, I thought at the end of Hulk something happened.
It does. He rolls up. Yeah. Because Ross is there, but we already knew the Avengers was coming because Nick Fury had already rolled up. Hulk came out after Iron Man.
Oh, did it?
Yeah.
Maybe I didn't watch Iron Man straight away then. Maybe I watched Hulk before Iron Man.
Maybe. Yeah. Because I don't think everybody jumped. Not everybody who still watches the MCU jumped in there. I think a lot of people jumped in on Avengers.
Yeah.
A lot of people.
But the reason I was saying it was because I then saw it as, although it was Nick Fury putting them together, it was Nick and Tony putting them together. Yeah, so I always kind of saw the Avengers as it being Tony as the leader.
But he's not Cap's the leader.
Cap is, yeah.
And to be fair, this kind of did make him.
But for me, that was the interchange in Civil War.
Yes, yeah.
Where Cap then took over as boss.
Yeah, I think it was Winter. I think that's right, but I think Cap was a bit shit up until Winter Soldier. Yeah. It turned him from being a bit of a joke to wow, he's hard as nails sort of thing, isn't he? But yeah, we said so. Thor shows up while they're transporting Loki. He uses dark magic to get there because they've still not got any spaceships on Asgard apparently, so he couldn't just fly there. He tries to convince Loki to come home, and then Steve and Tony show up, and then they have I don't know how to say it. They had a three-way fight. I'll say it really quick so that I don't just say three-way. They had a three-way fight in the forest. I broke out me again. But yeah, that was at the time.
That fight.
It was brilliant. Yeah,
I do love that fight.
Yeah.
And I love Loki. I'm waiting.
Yeah.
Like that just had me howling straight off. But if we're looking at Loki specifically, that conversation that him and Thor had just before.
Yeah. He says all I remember is a shadow.
Living in the shadow of my brother, thrown into abyss by him, and then I love the fact that Thor's, because basically a lot of Loki's hatred has also come from the fact that he's been lied to and he's not part of the family that he thought he was. And then Thor really pushes. He says, "We're brothers because we were raised together." So it's like, and then Loki calling his time away from Asgard as exile, which it wasn't.
No, but it's the Mind Stone convincing.
Yeah, no, I know, but that's what I mean. Like
out
this is kind of where Loki's mindset is at.
Yes.
So like,
But then he's right in some ways, because one thing I wrote down that he said the humans slaughter each other in droves, and it's like he needs to control them and rule them, and it's like he's got a point.
Yeah.
Particularly, I mean,
he
we're not a
also
political
says-
podcast, but things that are like going on now at the moment, it's
Yeah.
like,
I wrote this one down because I like this as well. You lie and kill in the service of liars and killers. No one has clean hands in this.
I don't remember that.
Don't you?
No, but that's
And I
deep,
think
that.
that's a really good line. Like,
Yeah.
Because it makes a hell of a lot of sense.
Yeah.
And it's that thing like Thanos, like we say. Although Thanos is batshit crazy,
Oh,
you
yeah, it
understand
makes...
his reasoning.
Yeah, and that's why he's a good villain.
Yeah, but to an extent, I think you're getting the same with Loki.
Yeah,
When you actually
100%.
look at
That's
it
why
like that.
that's why he works as a villain. Unlike, like, when we'll get there, but like Malekith wants to make the universe dark. It's like, oh, okay, shit excuse, but yeah, do you know what I mean? He's yeah, sorry, yeah. But then Ghost Rider might pop up. Surprise! two in one podcast, Andy. Another little thing before we move on that I had a bit of a problem with just as listening to it. When Thor shoots the lightning at Tony and Jarvis says power is at 400% capacity.
It goes to 475%.
400% capacity it goes to. How can you be at 400% capacity? Capacity means that's the most it can hold. So you can't be...
But on his screen it said 475%.
I didn't even notice that. I just had a
So it
problem
didn't
with...
even match.
It doesn't even match. You can't have more than 100% capacity because then it can't hold anymore. I'm nitpicking, but...
I think Jarvis was just too...
We've been electrocuted.
It's like he'd been doped up, hadn't he? So he was just like...
It's all electricity. So anyway, the Loki gets locked up on the helicarrier. And it's obviously done on purpose. The Mind Stone in the scepter basically starts causing aggro between everybody on there. They all start arguing. Steve finds out that Fury wants to use the Tesseract as a weapon rather than just to... I don't know what he's going to... Like, what Steve thought he was doing with the Tesseract. I don't know, just like saving people money on train fares so they can just towards everywhere maybe. I don't know. But yeah, it's not like a massive shock. And then Loki calls Natasha a mule and Quinn. Just a bad,
I mean,
bad
I wrote
man.
this down as well because that's like...
Do you know what it means?
Well, so, yes.
Yeah. You can say it on the podcast.
Well, it's a very nasty word for vagina, isn't it?
It means it's a derogatory term, like a Victorian age phrase, and it means whining vagina.
Yeah.
Because what was Joss Whedon thinking?
Well, can I also tell you a quick story about this?
Go on.
So, there's a place in Wales.
Yeah.
And it's spelt something like C-Y-N, and that's it. And it's near Towyn or something.
It's called you pronounce.
I was sat in the car at 13 years old, trying to pronounce every Welsh word that was on the sign. And I went, oh, Quim. And my mum went, don't you dare say that. And she went mental at me, and I was just reading the Welsh sign.
Well, here's the question. How do you pronounce that place that's spelt C-W-I-M?
Probably not Quim, but that's what it says.
I need to know now. Anybody listening in Wales, let us know how it's pronounced. Anyone who lives in Quim, just let them know. Oh, this is taking a weird turn.
But yeah, so that always confused me until the first time I watched it, and one of my friends
said, like, I know that place.
Oh my god, that's a really horrible thing to say. And I was like, what does it mean? She went, you don't know.
He's talking about a donkey in Wales, mule in Quim.
Yeah.
But anyway, so yeah, that was bad writing by Joss Whedon. What I want to know is how, if this is so we sort of get to the stage at this point that we know that this has been Loki's plan all along. So his plan has been to get captured, get on the helicarrier, use the Mind Stone to wind up Banner so he turns into the Hulk and basically destroy the Avengers. How did he know? How did he know Banner was going to be there? How long has this been his plan?
Well,
since he arrived on Earth. I mean, how did he know all this was going to happen? Because I know Barton could have given him some info, but how would he know that Banner was even there?
I have no idea.
Doesn't make sense. Don't get it. And then another thing he says. Natasha says that when Thor's trying to defend him, she says that he's killed 80 people in 2 days, and it's like, it is bad that, but I don't really get when. When did he kill 80 people?
Well, yeah.
Is it all the people who died in the evacuation?
I'd say between the evacuation... But
that wasn't really him, because it was already been evacuated before he rolled up, because it was all crumbling.
But it was...
Not that I know it was him, but I'm trying to defend him, but you know what I mean?
Yeah. No, I think that's what she's classing it as. I think it's that.
Yeah, maybe.
And then the extra guy that he took the eye for.
But also, again, I know she's saying that he's a bad bloke because he's doing it, but he doesn't see humans as it's like ants and dudes, like you said. And again, we'll get it there again when we get to Thor: The Dark World. But I think Loki sort of sees humans that way
Yeah.
from Dark World. And then the other thing I didn't like, which I've already mentioned, Steve saying I understand that reference. I just feel like Joss Whedon's turned him into a bit of a joke.
Yeah.
He's literally the butt of every joke. And like later on, he says, "Oh, it seems to run on some sort of electricity." It's just like, leave him alone. He's just like constantly like giving him shit lines and making him the butt of every joke. So Barton attacks the helicarrier. Steve and Tony have to fix the engine. Hulk's out and has a fight with Thor, which is brilliant. The whole fight with Thor was really good.
Yeah.
Nat fights Clint and breaks the mind control, and then Loki escapes and he kills Coulson. Coulson,
I was
devastated.
Devastated when that happened. I remember the first time around.
I do. Yeah, I just didn't expect it though. That was probably the decent writing by Whedon because it's like it just came out of nowhere. And then after he kills Coulson, he drops Thor out of the helicarrier, and I think he intends to kill him.
Because I missed this the first time round, and probably second, third, fourth time round, but because I just watched Thor.
Yeah.
When he said that he got it from the destroyer, the gun.
Yeah, the gun. Yeah.
And I was like, yes.
He didn't even
know. Get that
yeah. Get the link. I thought that whole sort of scene, like all that's going on, obviously like Tony and Steve trying to fix the helicarrier is good, apart from the fact that Steve's the butt of everyone's joke. The whole Hulk bit, I think the transformation is brilliant.
Yeah.
It's like it's got like a real horror vibe to it when he's like turning. It's like it's not scary, but I was a bit even though I'd seen it, I was on edge watching it.
Yeah. Because like in a very basic going back to like 80s horrors, it's your young pretty girl being a little bit stuck in the confined situation and seeing that things are turning horribly wrong.
Yeah.
And it's that it was that I loved about it because he's shouting at her to run because he can't control it and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
And it was like your werewolf.
Yeah, I was thinking that.
And I loved that. But I also loved her movements constantly. Like she's just at 100% all the time, isn't she?
Oh yeah.
Like every movement that she had, like if she was worried about where her feet were going, her hands were straight onto the piping and stuff and swinging herself, and I just loved every second of it.
I think it's like how we're watching it, focusing on Loki. Like because we've watched it so many times, you can focus more on Nat.
Yeah.
But I think because she's in a movie, and it says it in the trailer for Black Widow, because she's in a movie with all these like big heroes like Iron Man and Hulk.
Yeah.
It's very easy not to focus on it and not to see her as like elite as she is.
Yeah.
But I do think in her own movie she's gonna be brilliant, and I don't think they'll give her like any extra special powers as to what she's got. I think you're just focusing on it.
Yeah.
Even more. Anyway, carrying on with the film. So Loki gets. So they all obviously get separated. The Avengers are basically all like disbanded, kind of.
Yeah.
Loki gets Eric to open a wormhole above New York to bring in the Chitauri. Everyone heads to New York in the end, and then Banner arrives on his bike, and then we get the epic, which is brilliant. It's amazing. It's really good. And then we get the group. Obviously get that group shot
with the music in the background. Yeah. Just making light.
So this whole thing. I mean, I'm not going to go into like massive detail because there's like a billion shots in it, but the group shot, the whole thing, the whole battle for New York is brilliant.
Yeah.
The way it's all put together. It looks a bit cheesy in parts, but it's really good. I thought obviously the group shot. It's still amazing now. Even watching it now, it's like it's still like gives you that like little feeling, doesn't it? Like wow, this is the first time we got it. And the first time I did watch it was amazing. I thought, even though we'd said like how much Tony's suit had progressed, that suit up where it comes flying out the vault type thing and then chases him down, I thought that was really good. Apart from the fact when he gets right to the bottom and then turns the thrusters on, he's like 4 foot away from a load of people, and it's like surely that's like burn them.
Well, yeah,
because it's like because if it's that powerful to shoot him up, maybe it's repulsor and it doesn't. I don't know. Maybe. But if it's like got enough force to do that, one thing again, going back to how much Whedon clearly doesn't like Steve. I don't get why. You know when they all arrive in the helicarrier.
Yeah.
Not a helicarrier, in the Quinjet. Clint and Nat and Steve.
Yeah.
And they're like flying it. And I think Loki shoots it with a scepter and it starts like coming down, and you just see Steve like holding onto the rafters, like swinging around like this, and it's like he looks ridiculous. But why was he sat down strapped in for a start? Yeah. But also, why did they need to put that in? It just makes him look incapable and a bit of a joke. So I didn't like that.
I think that annoys me more because he's actually got more power than Black Widow, and she's.
But he's not as well trained.
No.
But he's more powerful.
Yeah. But then the difference in how they're both shown, like she is incredible all the way through the film.
Yeah.
And you can't no one can deny that every scene that she's in.
But Whedon likes his female heroes, doesn't he?
Yeah.
But he came off Buffy.
Yeah.
And he did. I don't think did he do five?
Firefly
and Serenity, and that's got a female heroish on it. So even though we're not going to talk about Joss Whedon and women, because that's a whole kind of worms that we're not going to get into. So yeah, the group shot's brilliant. All the bits with the Hulk beating up Loki is still brilliant.
I just love
it now.
saying Hulk smash.
Hulk smash. That's brilliant. That's brilliant. See, but that's there's probably only two moments I reckon in the film.
All I can think of.
Cap's a bit of a badass. There's that when he's in charge and he's basically saying, you do this. And then there's the bit where he jumps onto the police car and takes out 2 Chitauri.
Yeah.
And the
with
cops,
the policeman.
they start doing as they're told. But other than that, he's just not. He gets shot and he's Thor has to help him up and all that sort of stuff. And he's just a bit.
Did you also think while watching that scene when they all start kicking off that they're there from the future in the corner?
No, I didn't. I didn't know.
I
was
sat there going, "Oh, that's cool," and then all I could think of was.
The shit He thinks it's a bit gratuitous.
Yeah, it just made me howl.
Yeah, like that. So then, after obviously the battle's pretty much done, Nat figures out how to close the portal. The World Security Council send in a nuke, and then Tony sends it up into space and blows up the mothership. Now, that got a lot of hate because people were saying you can't fall in space. So when Tony goes up through the wormhole into space, when he lets go of the nuke, he wouldn't fall back down through the hole. And I've seen loads of people slating that online and saying it's ridiculous, it doesn't make sense. But when he lets go of the nuke, thrusters come off his shoulder, and shoot him backwards, as if Jarvis has gone right. Let's get him back.
Yeah.
So I don't get why. And I kind of just took it.
Happened anyway. I took it on face value that that's what it was.
I thought there was something like that, but it was glaringly obvious when I watched it. So I don't get why people hate it so much. But then the other thing as well, I thought it was a bit of a cop-out that as soon as you blow up the mothership, all the Chitauri die.
Yeah.
Why couldn't we just have had an extra
couple
of
minutes?
Minds
type situation.
Yeah, but why? I mean, they'd already beat most of them. Why couldn't we just have an extra couple of minutes of Hulk and Thor just taking out the last however many of them?
Because they spent that time using scenes of Captain America going
shaking her out.
Joss Whedon thought that was more important.
I'm never going to forgive Joss Whedon. So then after Tony's, we've all thought Tony was dead and he wasn't. We get the pose. We get them all posing up a storm, as Tony says, when they're stood over Loki. And I thought, just the way he acted when he said, "Can I have that drink now?" He just seemed a lot less evil straight away, as if the link has broke with the Mind Stone.
Just on another note, can we also just mention that moment when Loki turns around to Hulk and is like, "I will not be bullied," and then doesn't even get to finish, and he just starts slamming him.
I know.
I was like, yes.
And the noise he makes when he's on the floor, he's like, ugh.
It just makes me laugh so much.
I know, it's fast. And then I don't get why. So they arrest him. They didn't arrest him, but they take him. They lock him up, and then Thor takes him back to Asgard, and that's when he gets locked up. I don't get why. What's he getting locked up on Asgard for? Because I think it's a bit hypocritical. I can only assume it's for trying to kill Thor rather than Odin locking him up for all the stuff he did on Earth, because it's pretty. It doesn't. I mean, I've obviously seen the second one now.
You'd have seen it the same way that
exactly.
Loki did.
Yeah, he did it, and Loki says, spoilers when we get into the Dark World in a minute, but he's done just as.
I think it'd be treason for the attempt on Thor.
That's what I think it must have been, yeah. Now, I think I wrote down is he getting... I mean, now from watching it, I think it must be... From watching Thor the Dark World, I think it must be that. But at the time, I wrote down which is he getting imprisoned for.
Yeah.
And then we get 2 post-credit scenes. So we get the mid-credit scene, which is where the first time we see Thanos.
Yes.
Which isn't Josh Brolin.
No.
It's an actor called Damien Poitier, who apparently is related to Sidney Poitier. And that was... He's like a really old school, old-time... He's an old-time actor.
Oh, okay.
Pretty famous. Apparently, that was all practical. I think they CG'd up a little bit of it, but I've seen the makeup test, and they properly did this fella up to look like Thanos. It wasn't a full CG. It was good. And then we also got, before we do our little bit of a wrap up on the movie, we get the shawarma scene at the very end where they're eating. Have you seen this bit? seen the shawarma scene at the end? You know, because he says I want to get shawarma.
Remind me.
You know, when Tony wakes up
Yeah.
after he's dropped, he's like, "Oh, past the shawarma place. Does anybody feel like shawarma?"
Oh yeah.
At the very end, post credit, there's just a scene and it's completely silent, and it's basically just all them straight after the battle in New York, sitting in this takeaway, all eating kebabs, just in silence. Yeah, it's just like 30 seconds of silence. Don't know. That's them. They're just basically all sat in silence eating it. But they filmed that scene the day after the premiere, and then added it to the theatrical release.
Oh, did they?
Yeah. Because it wasn't on the premiere, and they basically. I remember when they were all getting interviewed at the premiere. They said we're going to film one more scene tomorrow, and everyone was like, "Oh, what's it going to be? It's going to be like a massive twist or something." And it was just there.
Amazing.
But in the because some people, not surprised Anthony's not seen it, but some people listeners will probably have seen it. In it, Steve is basically, you don't see Steve's face at any point. Everyone else is eating, and he's just sat there like that. No one can hear me now. But he sat there like that with his fist covering his face.
Yeah.
And it's because he was filming Snowpiercer at the time, and he had a full-on beard. So they had to put this massive prosthetic over his beard, but he looked ridiculous. So they had to sit him like this, so you couldn't see his. So they couldn't see his face because they didn't want to CGI it out and give him wibbly wobbly lips like Henry Cavill clearly. But yeah, I mean, my thoughts on the film. I still think it's brilliant. I think it looks a little bit dated now, to a degree, but I think it's still a fantastic film. I really enjoyed going back and seeing them all meeting for the first time. Yeah. That still was like weird, like the first time Steve meets Banner and the first time he meets Tony and stuff like that. It was a bit. I like how when they first met Thor, it's like, doth mother know you wear their drapes?
This is why I love it. I
like,
forgot how funny Tony is.
I know. I remember
like,
Tony.
He does get the best lines, to be fair.
He does, yeah. But yeah, it's such a good. It's such a good
Shakespeare
film.
in the Park.
I know.
That's what he calls Loki.
Yeah.
Wait, you mean Shakespeare in the Park?
It's that good, but it's just weird, like how like we've gone from like they're all like not like busy mates, but they're all like interacting, and I think we're spoiled with how much people interact in these movies now. Yeah. But to get that, it was like these are all meeting for the first time from different movies. It was great. One thing I didn't like is, and it's Joss Whedon, and it is about Whedon. I don't think he used the best takes all the way through the film, and I think this has been one of the criticisms of his version of the Justice League. Yeah. Because like there's Zack Snyder's, some of the shots are obviously Snyder's shots. Yeah. But they're different takes, and they're just like the way like the actors will say things, and it just the way that they say it in the Snyder cut is much better than the way that they put it across in the Joss Whedon version. And going back and watching this, it made me realize like some of the bad ones. It's like when Loki rolls up, and he says, "I bring glad tidings," when he rolls up at the thing, and it's just like it sounds off, and it's like surely there's a better take than that. Yeah. And then when Nick Fury goes, "We are hopelessly and hilariously outgunned," and it's like again that's a bad. It just seemed not good. And then the other one, which is the one I remember at the time, is when Tony says he's a genius billionaire playboy philanthropist. Can't say that philanthropist. And in the trailer, it's a much better take the way he says it. I remember watching it, and when I watched the actual film, I was a bit like, that's not it sounded like a trailer. Now it's kind of shit. But yeah, then the other thing I didn't like is I feel that Cap was just didn't have a good.
Thor's hair was better.
Thor's hair was better. Yeah, still not as good as it is now, but it was better. It was longer. It was much longer.
It looked more realistic. It looked less wiggy.
Yeah, it did.
That was the thing.
Was it a wig? It was just old. I don't know.
You can't tell me the first Thor film wasn't a wig.
Maybe.
I mean, it looked wiggy. Sorry, Chris. If you're listening,
he's not.
He's
not. Don't worry, Chris.
It looked like a wig.
It looked like a wig. I think Loki's story. He seems. I think even though he's being controlled by the Mind Stone, I still think a lot of the time through the movie he does seem a little bit conflicted in what he's doing. So even though he's being controlled, which we now know when he is being supposed to be completely evil, he still does seem to be struggling with it. Yeah.
Well, for me, like a lot more of that comes through in the second one. In the second Thor
movie. Yeah. The other thing I thought there as well, it's like he's not. I know he obviously comes across like in the movies like being really arrogant and like humans don't matter and all that sort of stuff. I don't think he's any more arrogant than Thor was in the first one. Thor was probably worse, and Odin's probably worse. So I don't think he's. I know he's obviously the villain of the movie, but I just don't think he was. I don't think he came across as that bad again. But yeah, so Thor. So that's Avengers. Avengers done. So we're on to Thor: The Dark World. You can turn off now.
Woohoo!
So this is probably. I don't know if I feel any differently about it now watching it, but it's always been like my least favorite MCU movie. Just thought it was.
However, watching it, focusing on Loki.
Again,
it's a fantastic bit of story for Loki.
I think it's good. I don't think it's a good film still, but I think
no, I don't think it's a good film.
Yeah.
But I think now that I've focused more on Loki's journey, I've been like, actually, you see a hell of a lot of Loki in this one.
Yeah.
As in, what makes him tick more. Does that make sense?
Yeah, 100%. Yeah.
And I was just really impressed, like looking at that bit and thinking, not a complete write-off.
No, it's not. I don't think it's. I mean, I always think of it as a bad film, and I don't think it is a bad film now that I've rewatched it. I just think it's a bit. No, actually, it's a bit
Do you know
boring.
what? I don't think Christopher Eccleston was any good.
No, I don't. But I don't think he wanted to be there. I think he was probably.
I don't think I've ever seen him in anything that he wants to be there on.
I don't know. He always comes across as a bit moody.
Like, do you want to be an actor? Can you please be a bit more grateful? If you're listening, Chris.
No, he's not like that.
No,
he's not. No.
Just be a bit more grateful.
Like Nick Cage. Nick Cage, he's well into Ghost. He wasn't. He was, but at least he. I don't know. At least he was comedic.
To be fair, when Captain America said about the monkeys, Nick Cage was all I could think of. It was like, I get that one.
I do
could
too.
Just see Nick
I
in
do.
the corner going
jumping up and down. But yeah, I don't know what It was just a bit boring, and before I watched it, I did a bit of like digging into like who directed it and wrote it, because Kenneth Branagh did the first one. Kenneth Branagh apparently was originally set to direct number 2, but just before production started, he withdrew, and a guy called Alan Taylor ended up directing it. And this guy's he's directed loads of TV before, like decent TV, like Lost, The West Wing, Sopranos. So he's done good stuff. I know Lost is.
I was going to say Lost was a bit of a hit.
No, but yeah, it was still a bit. It was still enjoyable.
Yeah.
So he's done some good stuff, but then movie-wise, he did this, and then he did Terminator Genesis with Emilia Clarke, which was a bit crap.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, it was crap. So then I thought, well, was it the writing? Because I couldn't really tell whether it was the direction or the writing, but it was Marcus and McFeely wrote it, who do like loads of them, still do all the MCU stuff now. They did Winter Soldier and stuff like that. So I can't really. I think the biggest problem with the film, which we'll go through, but I think the biggest problem with the film is they hadn't figured out what to do with Thor.
Yeah.
They didn't know how to put this guy's character across, and through this whole film. And I know last I said like
Thor kind of muddles through.
He doesn't really do much through the whole film. To be fair, it's kind of like a Loki movie. I don't think he's got. I know that says in the first one.
I think it was more about Jane than it was about Thor.
Yeah, I do. Yeah,
like,
it probably was. Did he have any funny moments, Thor, in this one?
No.
I can't think of anything.
Nothing stood out to me anyway.
I didn't find anything in the first Thor funny that he did, but I think there was an attempt at humour. I know you found part of it funny. I didn't really find anything funny, but I could see that they were trying. Whereas in this one, it's just like he doesn't do any. Which is now looking at him in like Ragnarok and Endgame, Infinity War. He's the comic relief now, but at the same time a hero rather than just being stupid. I just think this is the biggest issue with it. They didn't know what to do. They didn't know what to do with the guy, and that's why it was boring. But anyway, we start with backstory. So we get Odin. Again, I'm still gutted it wasn't Sam Elliott, but we get Odin narrating. I don't get who he was narrating to, because last time he was telling young Thor.
I think from now on they should have Sam Neill narrate.
Sam Elliott.
No, Sam Neill.
Sam Neill.
Yeah.
Oh yes.
Odin,
yes. Yeah, they should do.
So I think they should have
Sam Neill pretending to be. Yeah. No, I'll be alright.
So Love and Thunder, if they haven't done it already, get Sam Neill on board to just tell the story at the beginning and the end.
Do it, yeah. Tell us what's going on. Tell us about Gorgon God Butcher. So we start with Odin's dad, Bor, who is fighting Malekith, and he, again, talking about bad villains, he just wants universal darkness. I think it's because he's got really pale skin and he doesn't want to burn easily in the sun. And that's just very, very fair skin. He's gonna use the ether to do it, which we know is the Reality Stone. And then we also see that there's these dark elf monsters called the Cursed, who sort of break something and turn into like these big fiery type demon versions of themselves, because he does it to his mate, doesn't he?
Yeah, I watched this and then thought, is Iron Man 3 a rip-off of this?
Yeah, it's just the extremis. It's
I'm not going to lie. Like,
it does, it's
was
similar.
essentially the same thing,
It wasn't it? Yeah. But they were both made. I think which came out first? I think Thor came out first and then Iron Man 3.
Yeah.
Obviously had the same team on it doing the CGI because they just copied and pasted it from one to the other.
Yeah.
So Bor wins, Odin's dad wins. He hides the ether because it can't be destroyed. And then he hides it on. I'm going to try and say this. Svartalfheim, which is where the Dark Elves live. Anthony's laughing at me. And then Malekith and that's how you pronounce it. Svartalfheim. And it's in God of War.
It's like Edelweiss.
It's in don't start singing that. So Malekith and a couple of the Dark Elves escape, and then they go to sleep. They just go into stasis for thousands of years. As you do. So we then jump to present day. Asgard. Loki's in prison for his crimes, which I still think is a bit harsh. And Odin says you should be happy to be alive. If it wasn't for your mother, you'd be dead.
Yeah, it was very much
what? He's not done anything that you've not already done.
Yeah.
I know, fair play. You might have seen. Maybe Odin has seen the error of his ways, but he still.
You should be thankful that we picked you from the trash. That's
It's how he treated him. He treated him like you're lucky to be. You're lucky I picked you up from Jotunheim. You should just be happy to be sat there.
You to be dead.
Exactly. You should be happy with whatever you've got here. And it's I'm not surprised.
Really not very nice
He's
at all,
not,
is it?
And I think he comes across worse in this.
Yeah.
This movie is a bit of a prick. So we then see Loki, and I'm not going to say it, so we'll call them the three dudes. Not Loki, Thor and the three dudes, and Sif fighting Vanaheim. That's easier to say. They look a lot better because they're not stupidly polished. They actually look like warriors, all three of them, particularly Hogan, who looks miles better. Zachary, they've replaced Fandral. Don't know who played him in Thor 1, but it's Zachary Levi who plays Shazam.
Oh, okay.
Fandral, the blonde one with the goatee.
Shut up.
Yeah,
it looks so different, doesn't it?
Doesn't it? It's the dyed hair. They stopped using it on Thor.
Who knew?
The first one, and they started just
like we've got all this left over.
Exactly. We'll just use it on him. He looks good. And then I think we see Thor fight a Cronin, which is what's his name? Oh my God, who does Taika Waititi do the voice? Korg.
Oh yeah.
I think that's supposed to be the same species.
Oh, is it?
I think so. He's made of rocks. Isn't he? That big monster that Thor.
That's very racist, isn't it?
It's not racist. He's made of rocks. It's a Cronin.
Just because two different things are made of rocks.
Don't get into this. So Asgard looks miles better too. It looks more real. It looks like people actually live.
Yeah.
On. Asgard.
However, right, I had a bit of an issue with this one.
What?
As they were putting the defences up.
Yeah.
It looked like Emerald City.
I thought it looked like. Yeah.
I thought, honestly, just because of the way it was cupping over it and stuff, it just
Harry Potter as well. When Voldemort attacks Hogwarts. We're talking about Harry Potter now, people. We got into that. Let's not get into
Wizard of Oz again.
I know, we're doing Wizard of Oz again. Why would they do that? Oh yeah, we did the monkey. Yeah, and the monkeys.
And the monkeys.
This is now a Wizard of Oz themed podcast with a touch of Thor: The Dark World. To be fair, I'd probably rather watch Wizard of Oz. So we find out about this convergence, which is the 9 realms are going to align. Typical, just spacey story. Loads of planets are going to align. It's going to cause havoc. It's not very original. And basically it's screwing with physics everywhere and creating loads of portals. And then we find out that Jane and Darcy, who is still brilliant in this one, Darcy, she's on fire in this one. So they're living in London. Selvig's been locked in a mental institution for streaking around Stonehenge.
Which is the weirdest thing to put in.
Do you know what was even weirder? The fact that it was on ITN News at 10. That was just this is like us watching the telly. Can you just imagine turning on and seeing...
I've seen things like that happen, and it's just I could...
it just seemed real. It seemed real, didn't it? So Jane and Darcy find this abandoned factory. Jane ends up falling through a portal and ends up absorbing the ether because she touches it. It jumps into her where it's been buried.
Yeah, she gets closer than anybody else has probably got for a while. So I think
because it's been buried, hasn't it?
Yeah.
So Heimdall because basically Thor's got Heimdall spying on Jane, which is a bit creepy when you think of it that way. What's she doing now, Heimdall? So he basically says, I can't see her. She's gone somewhere. So Thor goes to Earth, doesn't he? She gets back. She goes back, and he finds her, and then she kind of when that copper tries to arrest her, she explodes. Not she doesn't obviously blow up, but she explodes loads of power.
So they all point the guns at her. Yeah.
Exactly. So Thor takes her back to.
It was so British though, wasn't it?
Yes.
Like
British.
I loved that bit because I was just
Again,
like,
it made it feel, but I don't know whether that's why it felt a bit boring and bland because it felt like a ITV crime drama. And I hate ITV crime
I like
dramas.
ITV crime dramas.
I hate it.
It made me think of Line of Duty. I was like,
that's
yes.
the only thing I can watch. I hate British dramas, and it just felt very British. I know I'm British, but yeah, it did.
Yeah.
So he takes her back to Asgard because there's obviously something going on. Odin's not happy, and Odin just treats her like shit, doesn't he? And it's like
I think he sees her as an ant.
He does. He sees her as not being. But he's like, oh, they have doctors on Earth. Let her. It doesn't matter if she dies. It doesn't matter if they can't help her. Just send her back to Earth. And then you made me wonder where Loki gets it from. And obviously not really wonder, a bit sarcastic.
Yeah.
No wonder. Doesn't he compare her to a goat? I'm sure he compares. I can't remember what he says now, but I've written down he compares it to a goat. It made me wonder as well if Jane hadn't gone to London and gone through that portal and found the ether, would Infinity War ever have happened? Because would Thanos have ever found the Reality Stone? Because no one knew where that was.
No.
People thought it was destroyed. Malekith thought it had been destroyed. Everyone thought it had been destroyed.
Yeah.
Jane's fault. It's all Jane's fault. It's completely her fault. I thought it was also quite funny that Thor can turn off the rain because we've now established that Thor can create twisters and he can turn off the rain. So he's just Storm now. So we don't need a Storm in the MCU because Thor's clearly it. Malekith wakes up, turns Mr. Echo from Lost into a monster because that's Mr. Echo from Lost. That Algrim is Mr. Echo from Lost. So he turns him into one of them cursed. He basically gives him the Extremis virus.
Yeah.
He sneaks into the Asgardian prison and breaks everyone else. And that's when we see Loki for the second time. And Loki's locked up. And his mum's kind of looking after him, isn't she?
Also, I noticed the scene when he's throwing.
He's throwing the cup
and then it was like, and then it goes to Infinity War, and I was like, yes.
Yeah, I feel that as well.
Yeah.
One thing, again, something that Loki says, because again, we're going to focus on Loki for this. She's sitting there, and his mum, Frigga, is saying, all the stuff that you did on Earth, you should be in here because you killed loads of people on Earth.
Yeah.
And Loki says it's a mere handful of lives compared to how many Odin has taken himself. Again, it's like, I know we keep sort of saying this, but Odin he's just following his father's foot. He's probably more Odin's son than Thor is.
Yeah.
Because Thor at least is growing up to be, decent.
Yeah.
So I thought it was also quite weird.
I love that different relationship with his mum.
Loki, yeah.
Because I feel like when we see the other side of Loki, that's his mum in him.
What, the good side?
Yeah.
She's probably the thing that's making him more human. And I think it shows that he's not a complete idiot. It's like he doesn't not like Odin because he's not really his dad. Because Frigga's not really his mum. It's because he's an idiot.
It's that traditional thing, though, isn't it? Like you look back at, you go back 70 years, and Dad was going out to war. Yeah. And then Mum was staying at home. The boys became a bit of a mummy's boy. And were a little bit frightened of Dad. If they were in trouble, it was Dad that was going to do the bollocking, basically, and stuff like that.
Get his belt out.
And so to me, that very much kind of resonated throughout the story of them as a family in general.
Yeah. No, I agree. Because she's the one. She's the one who sort of keeps him grounded. Yeah, 100%. And then obviously, it goes tits up. Yeah, exactly. So the Dark Elves basically invade Asgard. But they do. I thought it was really cool how Heimdall chases down the first ship off the bridge. Because the first time we've seen Heimdall do anything, he's just sort of the dude who opens the door, isn't it? Yeah. But I thought that they sort of showed how tough he was. And then, so when they attack, they end up killing Thor and Loki's mum, Frigga, and then they run away. They basically retreat, don't they? The Dark Elves without Jane.
Loki's reaction.
He got his mum killed because when Mr. Echo is breaking out when he's breaking out of the cells, he says, "Take the stairs on the left," and he's probably thinking, "I've sent him up that way. I've got my mum. If I hadn't sent him up the right way, if I hadn't told him where to go,
and that's why that's part of the reason that I absolutely love his reaction.
What, when he's like,
because his back is completely to us. We don't see the face of it, but then it just has that moment and everything everything just flies out.
Yeah, that one, yeah.
And then you go, and then obviously the next time you see him is
He's
when
a
Thor
mess.
comes down, and he's put the illusion up that he's okay.
Yeah.
And it's a physical attribute to the fact that that's what he's done. He's put up a barrier.
Yeah.
There's more people to see him like
Exactly.
that.
And it shows he's more. He's not human, but it shows he's human.
Vulnerable moment, and I loved it.
Yeah, good. I thought as well. Again, which I couldn't even remember this from the first time I watched it. The whole funeral scene, Frigga's funeral, I thought was brilliant.
Yeah.
The music, the way it's depicted, the way it's sort of set out.
Yeah.
I thought that was really good. I think it's probably one of the highlights of the film, to be perfectly honest.
Yeah.
I also wrote down as well because Thor wants to go after the Dark Elves, and Odin's like, no, you don't. You stay here. And Odin basically wants him to stay there with Jane so that Malekith will come to. Because I was trying to figure out why he's doing it first, and it's because he wants Malekith to come so that he can have his revenge on Malekith for killing Frigga. And Thor says loads of how many Asgardians are going to have to die when that happens?
And he says, such venom, isn't it?
And he says as many as are needed.
Yeah.
And it's like he's quite willing to kill all these Asgardians who he doesn't see as being on a shouldn't see as being on a lesser level. Get him with the humans, but these are Asgardians, and he's quite willing for them to die.
Yeah.
So why is he kicking off on Loki for killing cows? Do you know what I mean? Yeah. It's like, I know he doesn't try and kill cows.
And it's weird because thinking about this, and I know I'm jumping ahead, and I apologise.
That's right.
But when you think of like Ragnarok, and we'll obviously talk more about it.
Can't wait for next time.
But like when Thor turns up and has a go at Loki for sending Odin away.
Yeah.
I don't blame him.
No, I know.
I don't blame him for sending his dad away. Like, look at the.
It's bad.
It's like he's getting mad with power.
I know.
Like, and it's getting worse and worse as the films go on. So,
but we find out. I mean, I know it's skipping ahead, but we find out in Ragnarok that if anything, he's toned it down.
Yeah.
Because he was just taking over planets and all that sort of stuff, wasn't he? Yeah. He's a bad man. Odin's a bad man. And I think Loki's done pretty good to be so normal, and that's saying something, isn't it?
Yeah.
So Thor ends up going after them. He takes Jane with him. He takes Loki as well because Loki obviously knows the secret portal to Svartalfheim. I'm gonna get it before the end of the episode. And the deal is that Loki's only going and helping because he wants to avenge Frigga again, because I think he sort of realizes that he's probably had something to do with it. I think in that point that the other little thing, don't they, where Loki's changes himself into an Asgardian god, and then he turns Thor into Sif, and then he turns into Steve. And
that scene when he's Steve is brilliant.
It was amazing. I don't know.
And imagine now if with the hype that they have now at this point, if they'd have said there's going to be a cameo role with one of the other Avengers or something like that, you know, just. And you'd be like, how are they going to do it?
And then just disappointed.
Like that. I wouldn't be disappointed.
Oh, I would.
I'd wet myself because they've said cameo, and I know that when you say cameo, you're not expecting a hell of a lot from it. So
yeah, I don't know.
It's more the enjoyment of the fact that it's just there, and I love that.
Yeah, but like with all this talk that Chris Evans is coming back to the MCU, if it all turns out to be Loki
again,
I'll be like, what? I'll be fuming. But I thought that was good. And then again, I know we keep talking about Odin, but when he finds out that Thor has left, he says to the guards, "Stop Thor by any means necessary." It's like he's now willing to kill Thor so that he can get his vengeance on Malekith. It's like the guy's not good. So Loki and Thor put together this plan, don't they? And they trick Malekith into getting the ether out of Jane. I thought that was really good. I think when I first watched it, I thought it was genuine. I thought, right, Loki's bad here, and he's tried to. I think maybe I can't remember what I think I was just watching it the first time, thinking, what is this? This is a bit crap. But probably when he cut off Thor's hand, I might have been a bit like, hang on, is this?
When did that happen? Because I've completely forgotten.
Because it doesn't go anywhere, does it?
No.
But I thought that was really good. That whole setup.
Yeah.
And then
it just makes me think of a more serious version of the trick that they do in Ragnarok.
What? Get help.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was a bit like...
I don't want to do it. Yeah, but it was like that, but
I'm not doing Get Help. I'm not doing Get Help. Yeah, it was, wasn't it? Yeah, maybe that's where Taika Waititi got it from. But again, talking about because this is kind of like the end of Loki, well, pretty much the end of Loki in the film, isn't it? So obviously it ends up with Loki dying. I'm doing inverted commas. I'm doing air quotes. That's it. Inverted commas. I'm doing air quotes. I'm doing air quotes. So he dies, but he doesn't.
Yeah.
Loki here, I think it's been the opportunist that I don't think this was his plan all along.
No.
Because for a start, when the ether blows up, or when Thor blows it up, he covers Jane on the floor. And it's like he's quite willing. Probably because he thought, I'm a god and she's not, I'll be able to take it. But the fact that he put himself in harm's way in the slightest to stop her from that. But then also, Jane starts getting sucked into one of them black hole grenades. And he pushes her out the way, and he's dead at that point.
Yeah.
And that's dead. That's like real dead. And it's only because Thor saves him. But at that point, Loki sacrificed himself for this woman who he doesn't really know, but he knows it's his brother. He knows his brother loves her.
Yeah.
And probably thinks how devastated Thor would be if she died. And he's now gone from not seeing humans as important at all and not really a problem killing them to there's a human there who have got nothing to do with me, but I'm going to sacrifice myself.
But also, after everything that he's done, 3 different times now, minimum, Thor has still tried to save him.
Yeah, because Thor's...
I know, but I think maybe kind of at this point, it's the realisation that
Thor will save me.
Even if the rest of the family, like if he is adopted and all of that kind of stuff, and he's bitter about it and all of that kind of stuff, Thor's his brother at the end of the day, no matter what.
Yeah.
And that's how Thor sees him, so he needs to kind of have that
lovely,
same...
It's lovely. It is, I know. It should, but again, I think it just shows he's not a bad guy, is he? So anyway, that's kind of the majority of Loki done. So, but anyway, with the rest of the film, so Malekith absorbs the ether. He heads to Earth. Thor and Jane find the portal to get to Earth as well, and then Malekith's going to release the ether at the center of this convergence and basically bring about universal darkness again, which is just a stupid reason. And then basically they just have this big, I don't know, I've literally written big fight through portals because that's pretty much, there's nothing really massive to say about it. They just have a fight against each other and keep jumping through portals. There's a couple of funny moments where like the fighter jets end up going to Svartalfheim or whatever you want to call it. And then basically Thor and Jane end up working together with these like masts that they've built to control the convergence. And Malekith ends up getting crushed by a ship. And then at the end, Thor goes back to Asgard and speaks to Odin and basically turns down being king. But it does look like Odin, I know it's not Odin, it's Loki, but it does look like he offers him. He says, doesn't he? Maybe he knows he wouldn't take it.
Yeah.
And that's why he's doing it. But yeah, we find out it's Loki, which at the time really shocked me when I watched it. I knew he wasn't dead, but I was very surprised that he'd turned into. Well, I think my thought was, what's he done with Odin?
Yeah.
Has he killed him? But obviously we know he hasn't. And then there's 2 post credits. So there's a mid credit scene, which is the first time we see the Collector.
Yes.
Which is brilliant. Like the weird like bow he does where he does this with his hand. Like, no one can see me, but he like puts his hands out to the side, doesn't he? And does this like weird bow. Similar, and he does something similar in Guardians, doesn't he? Rocket takes the piss out of him. But that's the first time we hear the actual words Infinity Stones in any of the MCU. Which has obviously been the start of something massive. And then the post credit scene is Thor coming back to Earth and having a big kiss with Jane, and then we see that frost monster from Jotunheim running around the abandoned factory, which is good. But yeah, I think as I've already said, for the movie itself, I think it wasn't a bad movie, but it was just a boring movie.
It was a terrible filler.
It was, wasn't it? It was kind of like, it felt like the last one, like the Thor 1, I think we said, was like, it felt like the whole purpose of the film was just to establish Thor and Loki rather than actually take a story anywhere. And I feel like this was the same thing. It was like set up the Infinity Stones rather than actually doing anything with them, just to establish what they are. I think Thor, as I said, they just didn't know what to do with him. He had no character at all. He was just really serious and plain and boring. I feel sorry for Chris Hemsworth though.
Yeah, but I feel like after this movie they found it.
100%. Yeah. Well, maybe no, because I don't think they did really much with him in Age of Ultron. That was after this.
Don't you?
He was born in Age
I
of
thought it
Ultron.
was a bit funnier.
Funny. Well, no, to be fair, it was funnier, but I still
think
don't
that was
think
the first development of them going, them trying and being a bit funnier.
Yeah.
And then they've gone, that's where, let's play on that. And I think it just...
And Taika is just like, Taika Waititi's just like an absolute genius. Yeah, so he nailed it.
Have you seen him in What We Do in the Shadows?
Brilliant film.
It's
Lord,
so good.
It's so
I laughed so
good.
much during that.
Werewolves,
And
what are we? Werewolves, not swearwolves.
Like, I've heard his name for so long from doing MCU, but I didn't put the name to the face.
Yeah.
So when I went back or I watched a clip or something and they said it, and then I saw him turn around because he was on a red carpet and he turned around like, so I was like, oh my god, What We Do in the Shadows, that's him.
He's so
and I was
so
made
good.
up.
Yeah, brilliant. I also think, again we touched on it, Malekith is a terrible villain.
Yeah.
I think you need a good villain to make a good film. I don't think it saves it because Loki was a good villain in Thor 1. I don't think it was a particularly good film, but I think unless you've got a really decent villain, it's not going to be great.
No.
Not only was he a bad villain from the point where his motivations were a bit crap.
Yeah.
Christopher Eccleston was completely phoning it in. I just don't think he was a particularly threatening villain because it's like Frigga kicked the shit out of him.
Yeah.
And I know I'm not saying that she shouldn't, but she doesn't. She's not a warrior.
That he's just weak.
She's not a warrior, is she?
No.
The only reason he survived was because Mr. Echo came in and saved him. Yeah. So it's like he's not even a threatening, menacing villain at all. And then for Loki, again, I think it's what I'm a bit surprised. I think from where it leaves Loki in this film, I think they could have completely turned him good off the back of this film. And I think, as much as I love Ragnarok, I mean, we'll get into it next week. I think they kind of take a bit of a step back with him again.
Yeah.
Go a bit more towards being a villain before they bring him back, and whether that's just to give him character development.
The thing is, though, like I didn't see that as being villainous. I saw that as more mischievous.
No, I thought that at first, but then isn't there a bit in Ragnarok where he's quite happy to leave Thor to die on the planet and take the shit? And it's like, as far as he's concerned, Thor's probably going to get this. Like, I know he doesn't know it's Hulk, but the great champion has killed everybody he's fought, and he's quite happy to let Thor go in there.
Oh, I'm so excited for that.
I can't wait to do it. I'm so buzzing. I can't wait to.
I was just going to say something, but I just want to save it.
We'll save it. But yeah, so that's pretty much us. We did 2 films. We've not done too bad for time either. We're doing all right. We've been succinct rather than taking 3 hours to talk about one film like we did last week. Wait until we get to do Infinity War and Endgame in one episode. That's going to be a challenge. Should we do listeners' theories and thoughts? We need a name for this segment. I know we said ridiculous theories, but I don't like calling it ridiculous theories because it makes it sound like I'm saying that the listeners' theories are ridiculous. So I think I put on Twitter and Facebook for listeners to give us ideas for names.
Didn't Sean say something?
Sean gave us one. We've had a few on Twitter. I'll tell you what we've got so far, and then Anthony's going to go through them all. So the ideas we've had for the segment so far, I'm not going to say who gave them all. We had Heard Around the Water Cooler. We've got Pod Fans Assemble. I like that one. We've got Revenge of the Listenerds, The What If Machine, and then I know Sean's was Hypothetical Nerd Spoilers. So I quite like quite a few of them. I think what we'll do is we'll get a few more together and we'll pick the ones that we think are the best, and then maybe do a bit of a poll on like Twitter or something like that. But if you've got any ideas for what we could call the segment, let us know. Facebook, Twitter, email. We'll do all the social media links at the very end. But yeah, so we've got thoughts on the movies. We've got some questions. We've got listener questions this week, Anthony, and then we've got a theory from our mate. So Anthony's going to take over because we're face to face, so we can do it this week.
Do we want to start with my ridiculous theory?
Let's do your ridiculous theory. Yeah, you told me about this and you didn't tell me what it was. Go on.
So watching Avengers.
Yeah.
This is what got me. So my ridiculous theory, and I need you to stay with me on this.
Okay.
Right?
I can already tell this is going to be good.
Taskmaster. I can't even say it.
Yeah.
Is Hawkeye.
Do you reckon?
Before he was Hawkeye. So, and the reason that I'm thinking this is because when we watch Avengers, when we were talking about it being a bit intimate with them and stuff like that, but we've seen them fight before and all that. Black Widow says that she met Barton when she was rogue before joining S.H.I.E.L.D. He was sent to stop her, but ended up where they are today.
So do you think that the
so
scenes
what
from the
if
trailer
Taskmaster What if all of that with the poster with the stupid guy, like that no one really knows who he is unless he is Taskmaster, is like a push away from them, and Taskmaster actually turns out to be Barn.
What, and all the scenes with Taskmaster in the film are set in the past?
Yeah.
I don't know. I like it. Are there any scenes in the film though where like Yelena's in it though?
I don't know. But
I think there were theories that it might have been him. I'd be quite impressed if that was the case. I'd love it, in fact, if that was the... I don't think it's right.
I don't think it's right.
I don't think it's right.
But just
but
because of what she said, I was like, imagine.
I'd love it if, despite all the 76 trailers we've had for this film now, because it's taken forever to come out, and all the bits we've seen, I'd love it if we went into this and it was like, this is nothing like we thought it was going to be. There's a completely different bad guy. There's
totally different story and stuff. We've just been sent off on a red herring.
I'd be so happy if that was the case.
Yeah.
I don't think it is the case, but I'd be absolutely amazed if it was. So, fingers crossed. We've got one right.
That was my one.
I know, yeah, we've got like that.
Okay, so we are started. So thoughts on Avengers. You give me. I'm apologising now in case I say any of these wrong.
Go on, have a go.
Is it Carolia?
Christina, is it?
Christina. It's at Stinkfly 3.
That's it.
That's what I'm going to put it at. She just said the most quotable MCU movie ever.
Avengers.
Which, yeah.
It is. Yeah.
We've
done like half of them in the podcast.
I
thought we'd struggle to get any of them in, but yeah, we've done loads. My favourite one is still does Mother doth weareth her drapes. That's brilliant.
It's so good, isn't it?
All the way through.
Then we've got Paul Sears talking about Thor: The Dark World.
Yeah.
Watching Thor: The Dark World with Loki in mind made it a different watch, which, yeah, totally agree.
Yeah.
Loki spends the first half in a cell, not even attending his mother's funeral, with Loki constantly changing appearance. You never know if it's him or not, even turning off his cap at one point. Yeah, 100%. And that's what I love about it. It's kind of the illusion constantly. Like, you don't know that what you see is what you get.
Yeah. I suppose we still don't know.
I hope, well, because this is the other thing I was thinking. When we see Loki next, it's before his mum dies.
Yeah. It is, yeah. So he's not had that. He's not had
that to kind of pull him more towards the compassionate side or anything.
He's coming off being completely evil.
The illusionist, the evilness from the Mind Stone, all of that kind of stuff. That's where we are with him.
So it's
I'm really excited to see kind of where, because the other thing was, and I noticed this, when he lands at the beginning of the Avengers, that pose that he does with his head down but his eyes up is the same pose he's got in the Chains. He stood there looking like that, with his head down and his eyes up.
Crazy
and I was like, oh, I've got goosebumps. Sorry.
Can't wait.
Anyway, Paul then added, while you think he gets killed only to turn up at the end as Odin, can see him doing this a lot in the series to keep you guessing, meaning that in theory anyone could make an appearance in the series, just that it'll be Loki.
Yeah.
Although not the best Marvel film, it was still good.
Good. It's all right.
Debatable.
I don't think it was bad. I don't think it was bad. I don't think it got to good. It was just bland.
Yeah, and again, like, I mean, I say this pretty much every week now, but we're so spoiled with what we've had since as well.
Yeah.
It's pushed it right down the list.
Yeah,
so. So, the first of our questions.
We've got a question.
So Paul actually asked us, are Marvel and Disney going to keep it being just a one-season series like we've had with WandaVision and Falcon and the Winter Soldier? Bearing in mind, we still have Hawkeye later this year.
So this is Loki. This is Loki we're talking about.
Yeah.
So I don't think it'll be a one series. This one, I don't think it'll be limited. I think it might be, but I think it's got potential to go.
Yeah.
So the fact that he's potentially going to be jumping through different timelines, could go on for ages. I hope it does.
Yeah. No,
I don't want to see the end of Tom Hiddleston. I think they're going to struggle to bring Tom Hiddleston back into the MCU, as in like the Avengers films and stuff like that now because of that.
Yeah.
But I think it's just a really good excuse
and
to give him more Tom Hiddleston.
The little moments where he might fall into reality that is current MCU, and he's just in the background.
It's going to be like in
something ridiculous, and then just disappears again.
Like we've just said, like with the Avengers, like Cap and Tony and Ant-Man popping up in 2012 Avengers. Yeah. It's going to be similar.
Like something like that would just it bring me.
Yeah.
So I just
cocking up things that we've seen. It's kind of like a what if, isn't it? Because it's like, I mean, that could be where what if starts. It's like he's gone and changed things throughout the MCU, but like we could be seeing things like all the way through the film. Like we could see if Loki the series keeps going and going and going, let's say something happens in Doctor Strange 2, and it's the moment that Doctor Strange goes from losing to winning in the turning point, and then 2 years down the line we see Loki pop up in that reality, cock it up, and Doctor Strange gets killed. Do you know what I mean? Like things like that, just to cock up existing films.
And then we got a question from We Needed Rose podcast as well.
Yeah.
Do you think Loki will be a bigger success than the other Disney Plus shows, as they filled in backstory for arguably minor characters, whereas Loki is already a key component of the MCU? I think on a figures basis, it'll be a bigger success because there were a lot more people invested in Loki, and people love a good villain. If I've noticed something that's kind of come out more, you're looking at things like Suicide Squad, you've got Cruella coming out at the moment, you've had the massive success of Maleficent that it ended up making a second film. People are really enjoying the story of a villain now. It's not all about the good people all the time anymore. So I think that in that sense, I reckon it will be a bigger success.
I do.
And I think the potential, like we've said, of carrying it on to other series means that, it could be. It could just be something that does go on.
I think it'll be the only one that carries on with the series, because obviously I think WandaVision's done, isn't it? And then I think obviously we're going to
Well, it's good because Loki can dip in and out, and it can be totally separate at the same time. There's going to be no...
And it could be years down the line we get another one.
restraints to it, yeah.
Yeah.
So, okay, so theories. We've got a comment from...
Is it Nate? Geeky Nate?
Yes, yeah. So, Fantastic Four.
Okay.
He says, I know a lot of people think that they were in the MCU but trapped in the quantum realm. My theory is actually that they were on the ISS?
International Space Station.
Yeah, during the snap and where snapped. When they were returned in space, since the ISS would have been elsewhere in its orbit, and get hit with the cosmic rays to become the Fantastic Four and saved by the Swords Defense Space Station.
I like that. Good way of an origin story. It works, rather than just loads of astronauts are up in space, which I know is the origin story, but I feel like people already. I mean, they did it differently in that Fantastic Four, the Fan Four stick. They did it differently in that, but it didn't work. I think it'd be quite interesting to tie it in rather than just having, because I think with us having so many new heroes coming into the MCU now, I think the more they can tie it into existing MCU, the better, and it's a good way of tying it.
Yeah.
But thank you very much. Thanks, Nate. Thanks everybody for sending in the theories and the questions. Should we wrap up?
Yeah.
Should we wrap up? So, if you want to get in touch with us, then you can get in touch with us on Twitter. We are at Superhero Thing on Twitter. You can find us on Facebook as well at That Superhero Thing. I don't think we've mentioned it. We don't normally mention that much. We've got That Superhero Thing podcast group on Facebook as well.
Yeah.
Get on there. Obviously, you can talk to us on Twitter and generally leave us comments on Facebook, but you can get involved in the group. We're on there quite a lot, talking and throwing little news articles up there and asking questions. So join the group, get involved. We love to interact with everybody on there. You can contact us on email, which is it's info@thatsuperherothing.com, or you can contact us just in general. You can just go to the website, which is thatsuperherothing.com. There's a contact us page on there. You can leave us a voice message, and we'll include you on the podcast, and all the links are there as well. As we said as well, it means a lot to us if you would leave us a 5-star review on Apple or wherever you listen to podcasts, because it helps us massively get discovered and picked up. And then the only thing to say is next week we will be, as we've already mentioned, we'll be continuing the countdown with Thor Ragnarok, which I am massively looking forward to. That's going to take, I got a feeling, Thor Ragnarok, because it's so much about Loki, but also because it's both our favourites. It's going to probably take us longer than Infinity Game. Infinity. That's the next one. Infinity War and Endgame, because I absolutely love Ragnarok. Talking about how Avengers is so quotable. Yeah. Ragnarok is just like on another level. Just so many good moments in it. But looking forward to that. But thank you. That's it for me. Thank you very much for listening, and we'll see you next week.
Thank you very much, guys. See you soon.
Bye.
Bye.